Rich, ruthless, and famous, my guest is a New York institution known for the buildings he's built. Is it the competition that fires you up? Is it the money? What is it that gets you out of bed in the morning? What is it that drives you here?
I really think it's the artistic or the aesthetic. I love building great buildings. In the case, most of my business is the building of things. And I get great artistic pride out of a great building like Trump Tower, which is on 57th Street and 5th Avenue in New York, or Trump International Hotel and Tower, my new building on Central Park West. I mean, I get a great sense of artistic enjoyment out of those buildings. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's almost never going to be successful. Well, I think one thing is perseverance. I mean, when things were tough at the beginning of the 90s for me and everyone else, the problem with me is I was getting all the publicity.
The Great Depression, you call it.
I call it the Great Depression of the early 90s because we were really in a real estate depression. And it was real estate and retailing and airlines and various other businesses. They were in a total depression. They weren't in a recession. And I survived. Most people didn't survive. I mean, a lot of my friends, a lot of good people and bad people had to go bankrupt. And you never heard from them again. And you probably never will hear from them again. But, I survived to a point where the company is much bigger now than it ever was and much stronger financially than it ever was. And I wrote a book about it.
But in the early 90s, you faced the possibility of losing everything. In fact, on paper, you had lost pretty much everything.
I had faced the possibility of losing everything. And I went back to work. I focused my mental energies and all of my energies.
You never thought of giving up?
No, I think one of the reasons I really succeeded, and bigger than even in the 80s, is the fact that it's a little word called perseverance. I didn't stop.
It's quite a long word, actually.
It's a long word, come to think of it. But I didn't stop, and I did persevere. I went against a lot of odds. And I came up with a phrase, survive till 95. That was in the early 1990s. And it turned out to be right, because the world changed, the economy changed, and there was a survival tactic till a certain year. And in 1995, things started changing. But I mean, it really started changing for me almost right at the beginning, because I went back to work. I refocused my energies.
How desperate were you at that time?
Well,
how depressed did you get?
Well, to start off with, I really blame myself a little bit, because I've always been able to pick markets. And I really wasn't focused toward the end of the 80s, because I was having too good a time. I was enjoying my life too much. Things were going too well.
You dropped your guard.
I did drop my guard, and it's no different than you. If you do 15 great interviews, you sort of, on the 16th, you can take it easy because, well, that happens in life. That's a human trait. And I did drop my guard, and what I did is I re-put up my guard and re-put up my defenses and my offenses much stronger than I ever did in the 80s, and worked probably harder than I did in the 70s and 80s, and actually became much more successful.
You had to believe in your own abilities. Wasn't there a time when you thought, I really can't hack it, I should get out of this? I'm not suited to this.
There were some pretty depressing times, because I had owed billions and billions of dollars. 975 million or so was personally guaranteed. And that's a pretty deep hole. And when you're that deep in debt, you're mired in debt, and you're that deep in debt, I mean, that's a pretty rough situation to be in. There are lots of obstacles thrown in your way in terms of relationship. First of all, time, but even your own mental psyche. I mean, my thing is I'm thinking about deals, and I'm thinking about these great buildings all over, and that I'm doing, and building the largest job ever approved by the New York City Planning Commission on the West Side. That's a thought process. There's a lot of things that I'm doing and building. And I'm thinking about that maybe as opposed to relationship. I'm not saying that in a positive way. I'm saying it almost in a negative way, because it's very negative in terms of relationship. And success may be great in terms of living and lifestyle and beautiful homes and apartments and boats and planes and all of the stuff that doesn't mean very much. But success is not necessarily very good for a relationship.
Most important to you seem to be your children. Is that right? This matters to you a great deal.
Yeah, I have great children, and they're very important to me, and I think that's one of the great things that came out of both relationships.
Paging Eric, paging Eric.
Hey guys,
What's up, man? You ready to rock?
how you doing? I'm ready.
This is going to be the best 15 minutes of your day.
Really?
It's your life.
Based on the fact that you have the Trump wine there, it's starting off well.
What Trump wine? Okay. Here we go. Yes, and yes. Ladies and gentlemen, as we head into Christmas here, we've got an incredible guest for you. Without any further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Eric Trump. Welcome on to the Thrivetime Show. How are you, sir?
It's beautiful to see the American flags behind you guys, and that's what this is all about, right?
The office is a little excited.
We're a little excited to have you here, Eric. Okay, so Eric, I've got 8 questions for you in 15 minutes, coming in hot, and then my wife will one-up me with better questions. Do you ever give your family Trump ties or Trump international gift cards as last-minute Christmas gift ideas? Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what Laura's gonna get for Christmas. She's gonna get a case of Trump wine. She's gonna get a Trump tie, and she's gonna get exactly a stay at one of our hotels. Right? It's exactly what I'm gonna get her. So, no, it's we're a pretty eclectic family. It goes around. We do a lot of funny gifts. We do a lot of serious gifts. My son's he's in the other room right now. He's very excited about Hot Wheels. That's his this phase. I mean, I could literally ask him, "Would you rather have a Ferrari, Luke?" Right, not that he's ever going to get a Ferrari from us, right? We're not like the guys that spoil their kid. Would you rather have that, or would you rather have Hot Wheels? And pretty much across the board, Hot Wheels will, win the day. Would you rather have your sister for, in 2022, or would you rather have that awesome green camo Hot Wheels car? He'll definitely take the Hot Wheels car any day over his sister. So.
Okay, now question number 3 of 8 here. You spoke at the Reawaken America tour. How would you describe the energy amongst the attendees? Because the left would try to encourage people not to get together, to not attend your father's rallies or the Reawaken America tour. How would you describe the energy at the event?
Well, it's incredible. Obviously, I was with you in Dallas. Dallas was insane. I mean, thousands and thousands of people, every single one, representing red, white, and blue. Love Trump. But it's not even Trump. It's kind of what the message points that he stands for. God, country, patriotism. Common sense. All the things that we fight. Every single day, right? Pushing back on the weaponization of a system. Something I spend a lot of time talking about. You have Democrats out there every single day that try and weaponize every system in this country, whether it be the DOJ or the FBI or the military or education, higher ed, lower ed, go down the list, the media, social media, technology, corporate America.
Right.
They will censor you. They will, deplatform you. They will censor your thoughts and opinions. They'll take it out on your children. And people are really, really wise to that. And I think a lot of the audience there feels very strongly that so many of those things are frankly un-American, flow against, the very kind of ethos of our Constitution. And I think that's why you have the spirit that you have at the events. And I was, not only was I humbled because the outpouring of just love was fantastic, but incredible Americans there, and honored to speak at them.
Can you talk about the dangers of conservatives buying into rumors? Because so many people rumored that you were working with Russia, and then sometimes it's easy as a person, if you're not careful, to read the headlines and to buy into a rumor. Could you just speak about the dangers of buying into rumors?
It's amazing. When every day before I went to school, when I was younger, my dad always said, "Listen, kids, no drinking, no drugs, no smoking." And then he would always add a fourth thing, which is you better get good grades. Like, don't disappoint me. And, my mom was from, communist Czechoslovakia, and she pounded kind of manners into us. And we always lived very, very clean, squeaky lives. There was no drugs. There was no nonsense. There was no misbehaving. There was no disrespect toward adults. There was no pictures on laptops. There was no crack pipes. There was no illicit drugs. There was no prostitution and many other things you can find out. Before the age of 30, I raised $25 million and built a building down at St. Jude's, the largest ICU and surgery center in the country dedicated to dying children, right? $25 million, raised that at a 9.2% expense ratio. And these people savagely attack me every single day, meaning they attack me for the charity. He steals money for children with cancer. I'm saying, how do you steal money at a 9.2% cumulative expense ratio? We didn't even have employees. Like, I mean, we did so much good work. There's, again, the largest surgery center and ICU in Memphis, Tennessee, at St. Jude Children's Hospital to us. Yet Hunter goes around, he's got laptops full of these illicit pictures, all these bad things. He's taking money from every country around the world while his dad's vice president. He's writing emails. Hey guys, save 10% for the big guy. Who do we think the big guy is? Who the hell is the big guy? Of course, big guy at that time is the vice president. He's flying Air Force Two around the place. He's taking money from China, Ukraine. He's getting diamonds as gifts from Chinese, billionaires. Guys, if I did 1/1000th of that, they try and put us in jail every single day. They come after us. They subpoena us every single day, just with the hopes of finding one time in our life at some point that we ever slipped up. And truthfully, we haven't. Right? If I did 1/1000th of what Hunter Biden did, I'd be in jail for the rest of my life. And I'm not into attacking political families.
Yeah.
Like I've seen my kids who are 4 and 2 respectively get attacked. I saw Barron as a 13-year-old boy in the White House get attacked. I'm not into that stuff. I'm actually a big fan of leaving families the hell out of this unless you stand on the stage, which we all did. But the double standard's unbelievable. I mean, they have the evidence right there. It's on a laptop, right? Yet they do absolutely nothing about it. Yet there's probably not a day that goes by where some politically motivated prosecutor around the country doesn't send me a subpoena trying to take out my father because they know he's going to win in 2024 if he was to run again, or trying to take me out to otherwise embarrass a family, or going after anything or anybody in the Trump orbit, including, by the way, somebody that you're very close to, General Flynn.
Right.
And it's disgusting. It's a travesty. It's not equal arms of justice. And it's discouraged a lot of Americans. I can tell you that.
Now, question number 5, we're going to my wife here, and she always has better questions than me. So psychologically, prepare yourself.
That doesn't surprise me.
As Clay tried to get the truth out, he realized that everywhere he turned, he was censored. Suddenly his YouTube channel was shut down. Suddenly, he can't post these things on Facebook anymore. And so kind of as out of necessity, he thought, all right, I'm taking this directly to the people. And that I feel like is why people have been responsive. But what is, I guess if you can kind of speak to, sometimes I feel people get discouraged, and we can't stop because the truth will prevail and the truth will come out in the end. So I just want, if you can kind of speak to maybe that spirit of, and I think you saw that at the event, people being encouraged that we can get the truth out. We might just need to go a different way. I know your dad is also, coming up with a solution. So if you can kind of speak to that, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, well, guys, first of all, there's an old expression. I won't use it because it's a little lewd, but karma is a something, right? Unfortunately, karma takes too long in the world oftentimes. But the one thing I'll tell you about the Democrats, they always dig so deep that they actually find themselves. And it's like the craziest thing. And I'm going to be proven right on this. You just watch, save this little 10 seconds right here. And, with Russia, I was the guy that got, the initial press inquiry. Trump has secret servers with Russia. It's like, first of all, we're mainly cloud-based. So we don't really have servers. So let's just get past, just kind of that tangible point. Second of all, we don't know anybody in Russia. They've got secret servers with Alpha Bank. I'm like, who the hell's Alpha Bank? Who's Alpha Bank? I've never heard of Alpha Bank before. Yes, they've got deep connections to the Kremlin and Putin. I'm sitting there saying, guys, give me a damn break, right? So then a guy named Michael Sussman takes that to the FBI. Yes, I've got very clear information. Now he works for Hillary, and Hillary's paying him to do this, and then they perpetuate this thing and the Russia collusion and all this stuff, right? We lived through hell for 3 years. Every single day during my father's presidency, he's fighting this stuff. And guess what? At the end of it, it all comes out. They dug so deep that they actually found themselves. And guess what Durham's doing right now? Looking at the Hillary campaign and looking at Hillary Clinton and looking at all these people who perpetrated these lies. Sussman, the guy who started a lot of this stuff, is, he's indicted right now, federally indicted.
Yeah.
And go on and on. And so, guys, the same thing happens there. The election, I can tell you, was an awful fraud. There's just no question about it. I was going to places across the street, from Biden. He was the candidate for president of the United States. My name is not on that, the ticket. I'd have 1,000 people, and I'd be 500 yards across, 2 blocks away from Biden at the same time he was speaking. And he couldn't fill up his little 30 bubbles. I'm telling you guys, they have that old expression, right? If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a damn duck. And I think that's what every American's feeling right now. They might not be able to put their finger on exactly what it was. I happen to think it was death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
They might not be able to put their finger on exactly what it was, where it was. But guys, it didn't, there's nothing about it that felt right. There's nothing about it that looked right. It's not believable that this guy got 12 million more votes than, Obama in 2008. Give me a break. The guy can't get through a sentence. He didn't leave his basement in Delaware. He's the least inspiring guy in the world. And, And so, guys, that will come out. There's no question. And there's a lot of people, pursuing it every single day. And then you mentioned the medical stuff. And here's all I'll say. Moderna stock, was roughly $20 in the middle of 2020, in early 2020. Now Moderna stock is $329, or as of a couple of days ago, is $329. That's a 1,700% increase, guys, in Moderna stock, right? It goes from $20 to, $329 in what, a year and a half? And guys, there's a lot of money being made by, do you think Purell wants, COVID to magically disappear? Of course not. Do you think Lysol wants COVID to disappear? Of course not.
Right.
There's a lot of people making a lot of money on this nonsense. And I think people have to, regardless of what their opinions are on, listen, we have freedom of expression in this country, but I don't think people should be blind to the fact that, billions or trillions are being made. It's really interesting that some of the shots you only need one shot, but yet a lot of the other shots you need two shots. And then about 3 weeks later, you need a booster shot. And oh my God, there's another booster shot. Now, I mean, we're going to be 7 variants in. We're going to be 5 booster shots in.
Yeah.
And guys, at some point, Americans just need to be able to live their life.
Final 3 questions in the final 3 minutes here. And then Leon, are you ready for your question, sir?
Yeah, I'm ready.
And I think if your mic's dead, we'll switch to this mic. That might be
well. Look,
okay. There you go.
This is great, Eric. We enjoyed seeing you there in Dallas, and I love your father. I was a spiritual advisor during the Trump administration. We prayed and prayed, but when your dad said, "I am not the savior, we have one already," he was at Pastor Robert Jeffrey's church. That was amazing. How does your family feel about Jesus Christ being the Lord and Savior of the earth and of America? How does your family feel about that?
Well, there's no question. I mean, our country was founded on, religion, and it was founded on Christianity. And personally, it drives me crazy every single time, they want to take "In God We Trust" off of our national currency, or they want to drop, "Under God" and the Pledge of Allegiance. And at night, every single night, my son's in the other room, as I mentioned before. I'd love to bring him out of here at 4 years old. And literally, before we go to bed, we do 4 things every single night. I don't care where in the world I am. I don't care who I'm with. All right. I'll break apart at 7:45, and I will say prayers with him. First, he says the Pledge of Allegiance. And it's so cute as a 4-year-old doing the Pledge of Allegiance. He stands up, does the Pledge of Allegiance, and then he does 3 prayers. 2 are kind of like family prayers. And then the other, then the Lord's Prayer. He always finishes with the Lord's Prayer. At the end of each one, he says amen. And guys, this country is missing a lot of family. It's missing, a lot of, kind of parental figures that need to discipline children. I do it to, my son and daughter every single day, because, the youth will get out of line, and you have to kind of, bring them back in a good way, in a positive way.
Yeah.
They're missing that, but they are missing religion, and they're missing the teachings of religion. And frankly, the discipline of religion, right? It's more than just the teachings. It's the discipline of it. It's a family aspect of it. It's a community aspect of it. It's the church aspect of it. And we need a lot more of that in society. And frankly, if you had a lot more of that, so many of the problems that we actually spend a lot of time talking about just wouldn't exist.
Correct.
Religion cures a lot of those problems if we can actually get serious about it. And the family unit cures a lot of those problems if we can get serious about it. And that's many things, and I hate to be long-winded, I'm so sorry, but that's many things that plague this nation. That's, substance abuse, that's, crime, that's, being good, hardworking, ethical, people. It's, that really is, sewn into the fabric of red, white, and blue. And, we better not let that get away from us. And it was getting away from us awfully quickly until he started fighting for religious freedom, freedom of expression, God, being able to say Merry Christmas or holidays. I mean, these guys, it's nuts. And guys, it's not going to happen.
Now, Eric, I have 2 final questions for you. 2 final questions here. Okay. This is question number 1. When you think this is like a lot of times the media will ask 2-part and 3-part questions to trick you. This is a 3-part question, but it's one of my final 2 questions. Okay. So there's duck hunting, there's comedy, and there's dance moves. There's dance moves. There's duck hunting.
Yeah.
There's comedy. Who is the better duck hunter? You, Don Jr., or your dad?
Me.
Who's funnier?
Don, we were in a duck hunting blind yesterday morning together. So.
Who's better? Who's funnier? You, Don Jr., or your dad behind the scenes?
Listen, we've all got good senses of humor. We've all got pretty twisted senses of humor. Actually, we have a lot of. You've probably seen that over the last 4 years. Don's a funny guy. My dad's a funny guy. We're all funny. Honestly,
Okay.
We take life very seriously, but we certainly laugh. And I would say, but my father is definitely the best answer. There's no question about it. So
I thought
Don't
so.
take duck hunting. We'll give comedy to Don, and we'll give dancing to the president.
We need more of that. Okay, my final question that I'm done harassing you here. General Michael Flynn served for 30 some odd years in the military. He was your dad's choice, to be the chief intelligence officer. Peter Navarro, who is your dad's right-hand man in the White House, speaks super highly of General Flynn. Why does your family love General Flynn so much and all of the military? You guys are very pro-military and pro-General Flynn. Why is that?
Yeah, I don't even think it was us knowing General Flynn. I think it was more the way they tried to crucify a man that's given his life in this kind. By the way, General Flynn would much rather, be leading a military right now than talking on stage trying to regain the freedoms of this country. You better believe it, right? Kind of military spirit is ingrained in this. Yeah. But look what they tried to do to him. Look how they tried to destroy him. Look how they tried to frame him. And by the way, the guys, they do this to everybody. Oh, come in and talk to us, and it'll be a very nice conversation and help us. And then he says something. Oh, well, I think you just perjured yourself. I mean, guys, it's enough. It's enough of this stuff. I mean, this is a guy that gave, 30 years to his country, fought on battlefields around the world. You don't take people like that out. And the other side's willing to do it every single day. I mean, look what they tried to do to Kavanaugh. This is a guy I can tell you was not a party animal in high school, right? It's like, the guy's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He's not out there doing all sorts of crazy things, right? They're willing to make up these allegations. They're trying to destroy a guy. I mean, destroy a person's life. They're trying to destroy his family's life because what? He is different kind of political. It's sick, guys. And they're willing to do it to anybody. They try and do it to us every single day, the way they weaponize politics. And it can't happen. And, General Flynn, maybe like us in a certain way, but he became a little bit of kind of a spokesperson for, what the drain the swamp actually meant. And, we do have to drain that swamp. We can't allow that nonsense to happen. That's what happens in banana republics around the world. And it can't happen in the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. And I think that's why we have the respect for General Flynn that we do.
Eric, I really do appreciate you. I'll see if I can have the team round up some additional Hot Wheels for your son. Well, thank you.
God bless you guys. We do live in the greatest country in the world. Have a great one, guys. See you.
Amen. Take care, brother. Bye.
Now, this office
Right.
is all you, and it's a little bit junky.
Yeah. You know what? This I just got a few weeks ago. This is from the Marine Corps. That's the chair for The Apprentice that I used.
Oh, wow.
These are different things. Tom Brady's Super Bowl helmet.
Wow.
This is Mike Tyson's belt. This is Vince McMahon from the World Wrestling Federation. This is Shaquille O'Neal's shoe.
Oh my God.
Right here, which is a serious shoe.
Is that a real
shoe? That's
shoe?
a real shoe. He took it off after a game and handed it to me.
Oh my God.
I carried it like this.
Yeah, I
So
guess.
this-
Because you don't
this
really
is-
like germs anyway, do you?
Yeah, from
How
Shaq.
how are you handling the campaign shaking hands when you
Well,
don't
I
love
just do it.
germs?
Well, I mean, it's been proven. You shake hands, somebody has a cold, you probably catch a cold. But I do it because
Yeah.
you have to do it, and it's one of those things. But this is some serious foot.
Yeah.
So all different things, and of course the big thing is the view of New York City.
Now, do you live upstairs
I live upstairs. Yes.
in the penthouse?
Yes. top
Okay,
floor.
so do you think the White House is going to be as nice as your penthouse?
The White House is very special. So is Trump Tower, but the White House is a very special place. It represents something that can be so good, and you will see what I'm talking about.
How does your baby son feel about it? Because he would be the one who would live there.
Well, I think he feels great. I mean, he didn't know if it was such a shot, but now he's saying, "Dad, you're winning. You're winning. I don't know. I'm not sure I like it." It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But he would be very happy, I think.
How old is he right now?
He's now 9, just turned 9.
Okay. All right. Now, are you going to get down to business when we leave you, or are you going to get down to politics?
I get down to business and politics. I'm running a business, and at the same time, I'm running for office. Whereas a politician, they only have to do the one thing, but I'm running a big business and also running for office. So as the days go by, I give more and more to my children to run and my executives. I have great executives, and that's not going to be a problem.
So what's a normal day right now for you?
Well, I would
I
get up at 5:30, read the papers, including the Wall Street Journal. But I read the Wall Street Journal, the Times, I read the different papers, and then I try and watch as much as I can television. You're seeing more and more with the politics because there's so
Right.
much on television. And I get to the office at 8:30.
Now, do you exercise or you just stay in shape
Well,
on your
I
own?
exercise a little bit, not as much as I would like to. I don't have time really, and I do a lot of exercising because I walk around a lot. I'm doing a lot of things. Even when you're at a podium making a speech, and you're ranting and that's exercise. Don't kid yourself. That's you know, you're standing up for an hour and 20 minutes, and you're speaking to a great audience. So I get plenty of exercise. I like to play golf whenever I can, but it's not as much as I'd like to be able to play.
You're supposed to be a pretty good golfer.
I'm a pretty good golfer. You know, you get to know people on a golf course, and you learn about people. I've won many club championships, and when you can win club championships, that tells you something. You know, winning a club championship is hard because you're competing against other very good players, and it's hard. So you win many of them, and you feel good about yourself. It's not
So what's
easy.
your handicap?
I guess I'm a 4 now. I would have been better, but I haven't been played. But I would say a 4.
And that's really good.
It's pretty good, yeah. I'm a pretty good player.
Okay, so then you come in here at 8, and then do you mostly do political meetings, business meetings? What are you most focused
Well,
on?
I would say now it's starting to be maybe the political's taking over a little bit over the business. And the business, I'm giving more and more of it over to the executives and my children to run. But, you know, right now it's pretty much even.
A lot of people call you the Donald. Has it all blended, or do you sometimes feel like you're just Donald? Or do you feel like you have to be the Donald and be on stage? a lot?
Honestly, I don't think about it. I just do what I have to do. If you start thinking about that, bad things happen. You just have to do what you have to do. I come in, I do work like everybody else. I live maybe a different life or maybe not a different life, but I work hard. We can work hard. We have to work hard. If I win, I'm going to have to work so hard. But we're going to make, and I've said it, we're going to make the country better than it ever was. And we have a chance of doing that. Better. I don't mean just bring it back. We have a chance at making it better than it ever was. There's such incredible potential, such incredible people. And you mark my words, we'll be doing this in 3 or 4 years, hopefully together. And I think I hope you're going to be very impressed.
Okay, we'll come back and see.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, Monica.
Okay.
Tell me this, walk me through this. When does the day start? What's your day look like from the morning till midnight? What's the day look like for the, Trump family?
Well, listen, guys, remember, outside of politics, and I'm heavily involved in politics, I also run a, big company. So my day starts early, and we're not much, we're not big sleepers in our family. My father's not a big sleeper. I'm not a big sleeper. I'm normally a 5 a.m. guy, go to the gym, get to it, very, very early and, getting very late. And the last 2 nights we've come in at 1 o'clock in the morning and, come back from big fundraisers, big events. I was with him all over Georgia, North Carolina. I've been doing events all over the country. And so, no, guys, not a lot of sleep now between, obviously, kind of campaign schedule and, the final, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks now, 12 days. And then obviously, the company, we've got some of the greatest hotels all over the world and golf courses and residential buildings, commercial buildings, literally on every corner of the globe. And so, not a whole lot of sleep in our family.
And you're the EVP, right? You're the EVP of the entire organization.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, so question with you there, because I got 4 kids and, we got businesses that we're running. How was the family conversations when you guys were kids, younger?
Yeah.
Think 10, 12, 13, 14 years old, 15 years old. Hey, one day you're going to run this and one day you're going to do that. What were those conversations like with Pops?
No, actually, almost the exact opposite of that. We were thrown on construction sites, Don and I, at a very, very young age, right? About 11, started making, less than minimum wage, and I was pulling conduit, and I was doing HVAC work, tile work, concrete work, everything that you can possibly imagine, right? And I loved it, but it was, you're going to work with the stonemasons. These are guys, tough Italian guys. If you wore gloves, they would laugh at you. I mean, it's just, your little prepubescent hands are going to get, work hard in today, little boy. And, these,
so they were tough on you guys.
Oh, these guys are freaking tough.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are no bullshit, right? They're, these are the real deal. These are hardened, tough guys. And, by the way, so many of them still work in the company today and dear friends and worked for us forever. And they're really kind of family of ours. But no, this is real deal stuff. And, if you wanted a fishing rod, guess what? Honey, go out and work for it. Go dig a hole, go learn how to, run backhoes, bulldozers, chainsaws. And it's what we did every single summer. And it was the best thing that ever happened. And so I don't think there was any, hey, when you come into the business, it's work, earn it, and slowly grow your way in the company. And if you're really good at what you do, you can eventually have, the keys. And I don't even think that was stated. It was one of these things that we went out and we busted our butts every single day. And trust me, Donald Trump, right? He's no pushover. If we weren't really good at what we did, if we didn't care, if we didn't work our tail off, we wouldn't be in the seat that we were in.
Okay,
I mean, there's no way. There's too much riding on it. What he was actually remarkable at, he almost took a different approach. He'd give you tasks that were so insurmountable. You realize he kind of laddered them, right? But I was, 24 years old. I'd get thrown into, build that building, and by the way, you're in charge, make good decisions. I'd go to him oftentimes, hey, I've got a problem. What's the answer? And he would kind of talk in a little bit of a circle, but then at the end of his, you figure it out. You figure it out. And don't get me wrong, if I was going to go grossly awry, he would have, course corrected immediately. But he wanted people. For him, it was never about the PhDs. It was never about the resume. It was guys who would go out there and bust their butts, bust their asses, who worked, who had common sense, who people liked, who would go out there and fight. We have people in our company that were literally drivers. They took me to school as a kid, who were general managers of some of the biggest hotels in the country, because these guys always had their hand up. And Donald Trump was always this guy. You keep your hand in the air, right? I mean, driver. We were bringing architects out to Las Vegas when we did our big hotel out there, right? 64 stories on the Strip, right across from the Wynn. Amazing building. Hey, I'll take them out. This driver, I'll take the architects out, no problem. A couple weeks later, we're getting financing and we're going through the whole planning process. Hey, I'll take those bankers out. I'll show them site. I'll take them through the plans that we have. The guy always just had his hand up, and guess what? 15 years later, 20 years later, he's running a several billion-dollar building that's one of the biggest in Las Vegas, and this is a guy who really started as a driver. And it was never about the guys who graduated from Yale and Princeton. It was about the guys who worked hard, who were no BS, who were honest, who were loyal, who always had their hand up, and very different. I mean, and by the way, one other thing, he instilled confidence in people who otherwise might have not had confidence in themselves, and he would build them up. Brian's the greatest. He does the greatest job. This guy works harder than everybody. Everybody loves this guy. You watch, this guy's going to get the project done on time, under budget. And he built up their personality where they actually believed in themselves, where otherwise they would have said, hey, I'm just not qualified for that. I mean, how many times have you heard that across your life? And when in reality, they were almost the most qualified, in a crazy way. They had the street smarts. They had now he was a remarkable guy. He's made so many careers, remarkable boss, but you better believe when we were 14 years old, it wasn't, hey, when you take over the company one day, no, go out and dig that damn hole and work for it.
Who are some of the longest standing employees within the organization, and what are the timelines?
Well, if you haven't been in our company for 20 years, you're like a junior, very, very junior paper. I mean, I always say, you make it the first year with us and we love you, you're in for life. And you walk down the hall of our company, every single person, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. I mean, it's a remarkable thing. And so many people who came through. I hate hiring from outside. I hate it. It drives me crazy because you can never learn who a person is on a resume. You just don't. And I'd much rather have somebody that started as a busboy and worked his way into kind of being an F&B director, and then kind of worked his way into assistant general manager, and then you take that person, you put them in another property. They succeed every single time because their heart and soul, their work ethic, I mean, they've just been tested over and over and over. And by the way, they're the people who are most appreciative. I mean, think about the kind of FU it sends throughout corporate culture. When somebody's worked in a company for 15 years and they've rose the ranks, and then you jump ahead of them and you go grab some guy, some stiff from Ritz-Carlton or something along those lines, and you bring them in and you totally jump over them. I try never to do that. And my father was the same way. He always liked hiring from within. I mean, listen, guys, we probably have 6,000, 7,000 people in our company right now, right across, and growing awfully quickly. And but people whose careers he's made, I mean, it's remarkable. And by the way, people who would have never otherwise gotten jobs, and this is going to sound a little bit bad, so but 1980s, he was giving, very construction, very male-dominated industry in New York. I mean, very few females, and made many of his project managers female. He never gets any credit for that, and they were killers, and they went out and they did unbelievable things and built some, and he was always willing to just give whoever was the best person, whoever had their hand up, whoever would ever be that killer, who would ever work, kind of 24 hours a day to prove themselves.
What were some of the common conversations? Again, when you were a kid, right? I'm not talking 20 plus. I'm talking 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, during that age.
So he's always been a guy who's been myopically, and I think it's a family. First of all, great sense of humor, right? We like to laugh. We like to poke fun. I mean, a lot of, kind of shit talk, for lack of a better term, right, against all of us. And
New Yorkers, you guys are New Yorkers.
Yeah, 100%. You get it, right? But I mean, we're a very, very close family, but we're also a very alpha family, right? Very kind of competitive family. We have a lot of fun, and we're all probably loud in our own ways. Everybody wants the stage, everybody wants the microphone, so you get a lot of that at our table. It's probably no different than your tables, right? But I think the conversation always kind of revolved. He was very myopically focused on whatever he was doing at the time, right? In the casino years, in the early years, I mean, he was myopically focused on casinos, right? And everything would be about the casino business and building the casinos. And is Michael Jackson going to show up today? Is Hulk Hogan going to show up today? What event you have, and when that moved later on to the hotels, the golf courses, that became kind of the focus. When we got into The Apprentice, The Apprentice became and it was a certain way of actually, I think maybe, psychologically honing yourself, where you just dig so deep into whatever you want to focus on that it ultimately becomes a success because you're just so impassioned about it. But I think that conversation over the course of time, moved from kind of, from focus to focus. Certainly when we got into politics, real estate became a much smaller conversation at the dinner table. And guess what? It's much more of a political conversation. Can you believe this? Can you believe this nonsense? Right. And so it's always how he actually, I think, honed himself and got many of kind of the talking points and kind of, grounded his convictions in whatever he was doing in the moment.
What qualities did he dislike the most? Like, if I'm talking about victimhood, blame, what was it when he's looking at somebody doesn't make it, somebody feels an enemy he goes up against, an opponent, somebody he watches in sports? Were there any qualities where, like, if you want to fail in life, here's the three things?
Yeah, laziness. He had no tolerance for lazy, right? And he could always respect somebody who was a hard fighter on the other side of the table, but as somebody who fought, he always liked the fighter. He never liked the lazy person. He wanted the person to be motivated. I mean, he'll call me in the morning, and I'm an early guy, and I'm kind of a late guy, and honey, it'll be 5:30 in the morning. Honey, are you awake? Yeah, I'm speaking to you. I'm awake. And he'll call me that same night, 11:45. Honey, are you awake? Yeah, I'm awake. And he's called me a couple times, right? It's 10:30. You pass out on. Honey, did I catch you? You're sleeping. You're not allowed to be sleeping. I'm a guy that gets 4 hours of sleep at night, right? I'm a guy who travels on a plane 210 days a year, and you're literally busting my chops for. But no, he's remarkable. He likes hard workers. He likes people who have passion. And for anything, and I'm the same way. I like people who have. I don't care if you're into knitting. If you are truly passionate about something and you want to be a master of that craft. I just find those people kind of fascinating. He always did too. He's the guy who'd pull up, he would see a stonemason on the side of the road. He'd be building an incredible wall. He'd pull up to him. That's the most incredible stone wall I've ever seen. Is that bluestone? Is that flagstone? Do you believe in dry packing? What kind of concrete do you use? I mean, he's the guy who would always get so myopic, and he would love to dig into the minds of people who are truly kind of, captains of industry. They might not be, captains of industry in the big sense, but people who truly knew their trade and knew that trade better than anybody and were perfectionists. And he always loved those people. It's kind of why I call him sometimes the blue collar billionaire, right? I mean, he always did really well with, go up to that electrician, hey, bud, are we on schedule? Tell me about this job. What's going right? This is the guy that's installing electrical outlet. This isn't the guy that's running the company. He learned more from those guys than he did from certainly any day from the guys who are actually, running those organizations. Negotiate everything. I mean, he was always a tough negotiator. He was a fair negotiator, but he was a tough negotiator. He's a guy who expected quality. I remember as kids, and really my whole life, and I might actually be worse at this point to tell you the truth, but we'd be walking through a casino as a little kid. He would stop a caravan of people because he would see a little paint trip on a wall, that was so insignificant that no one would ever point it out, and he would make a spectacle out of it, right? And what that was doing was actually it was conditioning people to be perfectionists. Don't have that paint drip, right? Don't have that burnt out bulb. People notice these little details, and it made the teams substantially better. And it's kind of one of the reasons we have the quality that we do in our company. But so oftentimes I'll show up at our properties, I'll walk through the loading dock. Our lobbies are going to be perfect every single time, but I want to see every mechanical room. I want to make sure that there's no dust on an HVAC system and kind of a back closet. They've got to be perfectly painted, well lit. They've got to be immaculate. And the way you conduct yourself kind of back at house is obviously is a good transfer over the way you interact with guests and, the way you hold yourself. And, but no, he was a perfectionist, and he's, very kind of, OCD in terms of detail, and, tough negotiator, and, a guy who really, beyond anything, I think a great cheerleader. And I think you see that in politics, certainly, but, he cheerleads for things that he believes in. I want America to be the greatest country in the world. We're going to have the best economy. We're going to have the lowest taxes. We're going to have the greatest military. Our vets are going to be, put first. We're not going to let these companies rip us off and, screw us all around the world. We're going to renegotiate these deals. China's not going to, get away with murder anymore. But he did that in business as well, right? Turnberry's the greatest golf course. We're building something that's better than anything in the world. And he meant it, right? But he was also willing to say it, all right? He was always a great cheerleader. And frankly, to the political side of this conversation, it's something that I think this country is missing in a big way. We don't have cheerleaders anymore. Just look at the difference in 4 years, right? I mean, come back to it. Somebody might not like, a tough tweet. My father's a very direct guy, and I love. Listen, we're New Yorkers, right? We love direct, no BS, kind of tough. But people haven't gotten a wage increase. More people working 3-4 jobs than ever before. 25% of this country is behind on their electrical bills. This is the United States of America. How the hell is 25% of the country behind on electrical bills? You have the highest credit card debt in history in this country. And by the way, no one talks about the fact that that's, before the buy now, pay later schemes, right? Which is hundreds of billions of dollars. No one talks about that. Nothing's working, right? All the while you've had 10% inflation, compounding inflation, damn near it. Anybody who actually thinks that, the 6% inflation number is a real number, anybody who runs a business knows that these are kind of fake numbers. So you've had stagnation in wage growth. You've had massive inflation, so you've created this massive kind of delta. People are so crammed down. They're losing the American dream. Nothing works. I mean, imagine being like a 22-year-old kid who falls in love, comes out of college, comes out of school, wants to buy a house. So housing is double based on inflation. The fact of every 2x4 is now $12 versus, $2 under my father, fuel costs, everything else, building materials. And now you have to go out and get a mortgage for what? 8%? 9% if you can even get financing on it. I mean, they've made the American dream unaffordable, and everybody realizes that. And I don't care how many times somebody comes out and makes up these silly sound bites that we've heard for 50 years. They've called every Republican for 50 years a fascist. It's kind of interesting that they call my father a fascist, whereas he's the one guy who didn't want to get into a war. He's the one guy who pulled us out of every single war. Sure. Isn't that kind of ironic, right? I mean, he criticizes the greatest war machine in the history of the world, which has become us over the last 20 years. He kept us out of every single war, yet they call him a fascist. I mean, I kind of find that a little ironic, right? Mm-hmm. We knew, but I'm telling you, man, I had people in my life that were the greatest disappointments, and people who you never would have thought would have exited your life. I mean, lifelong friends, dear friends, best friends, every vacation, growing up together from the age of 6, disappear from your lives for really no apparent reason. And oftentimes it's girlfriends or wives, which in that case it was. And then I had people come into my life who didn't need to be in the fight, who got nothing out of the fight, who really believed, who had heart and soul. And honestly, I'll take one of them over 100 of the others any day.
Clay Clark has worked his butt off. I mean that over the last 3 years, putting on. I can't tell you how hard this guy has worked, and I really mean this. This is the last Reawaken event probably ever. I don't know. Maybe if one of us run one of these days, Clay will bring it back. Come here, Clay. Come here. He is the hardest working, nicest guy who's gone all across the country. He's gone into the Lion's Den in places that you wouldn't believe. And there's other people up here. Everybody up on this stage has been at a lot of these events, General Flynn, everybody. But we've had some of the greatest experiences you could possibly imagine. We've gone to areas that Republicans have never, ever gone to before. We got attacked in Portland by Antifa. I mean, we have some crazy stories. And he never, ever, ever once backed down. And so, Clay, on behalf of everybody that believes in Make America Great Again, on behalf of our entire family, on behalf of an entire country of patriots, people who love red, white, and blue, people who believe in faith, people who believe in our Constitution, people who believe in free speech, we love you, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate your family, and how much you've sacrificed, and how much you've spent. And the greatest thing that will come out of all of it, aside from winning the presidency of the United States, we'll get to that in a second, was an everlasting friendship between Clay and I, because I'm telling you, there's not too many people in the world that have this man's backbone and his tenaciousness and his perseverance. And so, buddy, I love you. And to General Flynn, thank you. You guys are incredible. You guys are incredible warriors. You guys are incredible, incredible warriors. So thank you, my friend. Thank you. Clay Clark is here somewhere. Where's my buddy Clay? Clay's the greatest. I met his goats today. I met his dogs. I met his chickens. I saw his compound. He's like the greatest guy.
I ran from his goats, his chickens, his dogs.
So this guy's like the greatest marketer you've ever seen, right? His entire life, Clay Clark, his entire life is marketing.
Okay, Aaron Antis, March 6th and 7th. March 6th and 7th, guess who's coming to Tulsa, Jerusalem?
Ooh, Santa Claus?
No, that's March. March 6th and 7th,
Oh.
we're going to be joined by Robert Kiyosaki.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Probably the best-selling, or one of the best-selling business authors of all time. And he's going to be joined with Eric Trump. He'll be joined by Eric Trump. So we got Eric Trump and Robert Kiyosaki in the same place. Aaron, why should everybody show up to hear Robert Kiyosaki?
Well, you got billions of dollars of business experience between those two, not to mention many, many, many millions of books have been sold. Many, many millionaires have been made from the books that have been sold by Robert Kiyosaki. I happen to be one of them. I learned from the man. He was the inspiration. That book was the inspiration for me to get the entrepreneurial spirit, as many other people.
Now, since you won't brag on yourself, I will. You've sold billions of dollars of houses, am I correct?
That is true.
And the book that kickstarted it all for you,
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the author, the best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, the guy that kickstarted your career.
Yeah.
He's going to be here.
He's going to be here. I'm pumped.
And now Eric Trump, people don't know this, but the Trump organization has thousands of employees. There's not 50 employees. The Trump organization, again, most people don't know this, but the Trump organization has thousands of employees. And while Donald J. Trump was the 45th president of these United States and soon to be the 47th president of these United States, he needed someone to run the companies for him. And so the man that runs the Trump organization for Donald J. Trump, as he was the 45th president of the United States and now the 47th president of the United States, is Eric Trump. And so Eric Trump is here to talk about time management, promoting from within, marketing, branding, quality control, sales systems, workflow design, workflow mapping, how to build. I mean, everything that you see, the Trump hotels, the Trump golf courses, all their products, the man who manages billions of dollars of real estate and thousands of employees is here to teach us how to do it.
You are talking about one of the greatest brands on the planet from a business standpoint.
Right.
I mean, who else has been able to create a brand like the Trump brand? I mean, look at it. And this is the man behind the business for the last pretty much since 2015. He's been the man behind it. So you're talking, we're into 9 going into 10 years of him running it, and we get to tap into that knowledge. That's going to be amazing.
Now, think about this for a second. Would you buy a ticket just to see Robert Kiyosaki and Eric Trump? Of course you would.
Of course you would.
But we're also going to be joined by Sean Baker. This is the best-selling author, the guy who invented the carnivore diet.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Sean Baker. He's been on Joe Rogan multiple times. He's going to be joining us. So you've got Robert Kiyosaki, the best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Eric Trump, Sean Baker. The lineup continues to grow, and this is how we do our tickets here at the Thrivetime Show. If you want to get a VIP ticket, you can absolutely do it. It's $500 for a VIP ticket. We've always done it that way. Now, if you want to take a general admission ticket, it's $250 or whatever price you want to pay. And the reason why I do that, and the reason why we do that is because we want to make our events affordable for everybody. I grew up without money. I totally understand what it's like to be in a tight spot. So if you want to attend, it's $250 or whatever price you want to pay. That's how I do it. And it's $500 for a VIP ticket. Now, we only have limited seating here. With the most people we've ever had in this building was for the Jim Brewer presentation. Jim Brewer came here, the legendary comedian Jim Brewer came to Tulsa, and we had 419 people that were here. 419 people.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, there's no more room. I felt kind of bad that if a couple people had VIP seats in the men's restroom. No, I'm just kidding. But I thought, you know what, we should probably add on. So we're adding on what we call the upper deck, or the top shelf. So the seats are very close to the presenters, but we're actually building right now. We're adding on to the facility to make room to accommodate about another 30 attendees or more. So again, if you want to get tickets for this event, all you have to do is go to thrivetimeshow.com. Go to thrivetimeshow.com. When you go to thrivetimeshow.com, you'll go there, you'll request a ticket, boom. Or if you want to text me, if you want a little bit faster service, you say, I want you to call me right now. Just text my number. It's my cell phone number, my personal cell phone number. We'll keep that private between you, me, everybody. We'll keep that private. And anybody, don't share that with anybody except for everybody. That's my private cell phone number. It's 918-851-0102. 918-851-0102. I know we have a lot of Spanish speaking people that attend these conferences, and to be bilingually sensitive, my cell phone number is 918-851-0102.
That is not actually bilingual. That's just saying Juan for a one. It's not the same thing.
I think you're attacking me. Now, let's talk about this. Now, what kind of stuff will you learn at the Thrivetime Show workshop? So, Aaron, you've been to many of these over the past 7-8 years. So let's talk about it. I'll tee up the thing, and then you tell me what you're going to learn here, okay?
Okay.
You're going to learn marketing and branding. What are we going to learn about marketing and branding?
Oh, yeah. We're going to dive into, so many people say, I got to get my brand known out there, like the Trump brand, right? You want to get that brand out there. It's like, how do I actually make people know what my business is and make it a household name? You're going to learn some intricacies of how you can do that.
You're going to learn sales. So many people struggle to sell something. This just in, your business will go to hell if you can't sell. So we're going to teach you sales. We're going to teach you search engine optimization, how to come up top in the search engine results. We're going to teach you how to manage people. Aaron, you have managed, no exaggeration, hundreds of people throughout your career and thousands of contractors. And most people struggle with managing people. Why does everybody have to learn how to manage people?
Well, because first of all, you either have great people or you have people who suck. And so it can be a challenge, learning how to work with a large group of people and get everybody pulling in the same direction can be a challenge. But if you have the right systems, you have the right processes, and you're really good at selecting great ones, and we have a process we teach about how to find great people. When you start with the people who have a great attitude, they're teachable, they're driven, all of those things, then, you can get those people all pulling in the same direction.
So we're going to teach you branding, marketing, sales, search engine optimization. We're going to teach you accounting. We're going to teach you personal finance, how to manage your finance. We're going to teach you time management. How do you manage your time? How do you get more done during a typical day? How do you build an organization if you're not organized? How do you do organization? How do you build an org chart? Everything that you need to know to start and grow a business will be taught during this 2-day interactive business workshop. Now, let me tell you how the format is set up here. And again, folks, this is a 2-day interactive 15. Think about this, folks. It's 2 days. Each day it starts at 7 a.m. and it goes until 5 p.m. So from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., 2 days. It's a 2-day interactive workshop. The way we do it is we do a 30-minute teaching session, and then we break for 15 minutes for a question and answer session. So, Aaron, what kind of great stuff happens during that 15-minute question and answer session after every teaching session?
I actually think it's the best part about the workshops, because here's what happens. I've been to lots of these things over the years. I've paid many thousands of dollars to go to them. And you go in there and they talk in vague generalities, and they're constantly upselling you for something, trying to get you to buy this thing or that thing or this program or this membership. And you leave not getting your very specific questions answered about your business or your employees or what you're doing on your marketing. And what's awesome about this is we literally answer every single question that any person asks, and it's very specific to what your business is.
And what we do is we allow you as the attendee to write your questions on the whiteboard.
Yep.
And then we literally, as you mentioned, we answer every single question on the whiteboard. And then we take a 15-minute break to stretch and to make it entertaining when you're stretching. This is a true story. When you get up and stretch, you'll be greeted by mariachis.
Sure.
There's going to probably be alpaca here, llamas, helicopter rides, a coffee bar, a snow cone. There's just...
You had a crocodile one time. That was pretty interesting.
I should write that down and actually do that.
Sorry for that one guy that we lost.
The crocodile, we duct taped its face so that we duct taped.
No, it was a baby crocodile.
And it was duct tape.
Yeah, duct tape around the mouth so it didn't bite anybody. But it was really cool passing that thing around and
I should do that. We have a small petting zoo that will be assembled. It's going to be great. And then you're in the company of hundreds of entrepreneurs. So there's not a lot of people in America today. In fact, there's less than 10 million people today, according to U.S. Debt Clock, that identify as being self-employed. So if you have a country with 350 million people, that means you have less than 3% of our population that's even self-employed. Yeah. So you only have 3 out of every 100 people in America that are self-employed to begin with. And when Inc. magazine reports that 96% of businesses fail by default, By default, you have a 1 out of 1,000 chance of succeeding in the game of business.
It's tough.
But yet the average client that you and I work with, we can typically double this. And this is no hyperbole, no exaggeration. And I have thousands of testimonials to back this up. We have thousands of testimonials to back it up. But when you work with a home builder, when I work with a business owner, we can typically double the size of the company within 24 months.
Yeah.
Double. And you say double? Yeah, there's businesses that we have tripled. There's businesses we've grown 8x. There's so many examples you can see at thrivetimeshow.com. But again, this is the most interactive, best business workshop on the planet. This is objectively the highest rated and most reviewed business workshop on the planet. And then you add to that Robert Kiyosaki, the best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You add to that Eric Trump, the man that runs the Trump Organization. You add to that Sean Baker. Now you might say, but Clay, is there more? I need more. Well, okay, Tom Wheelwright is the wealth strategist for Robert Kiyosaki. So people say, Robert Kiyosaki, who's his financial wealth advisor? Who's the guy who manages, who's his wealth strategist? His wealth strategist, Tom Wheelwright, will be here. And you say, Clay, I'm not going to get a ticket unless you give me more. Okay, fine. We're going to serve you the same meal both days. True story. We cater in the food, and because I keep it simple, I literally bring in the same food both days for lunch. It's Ted Escondido's, an incredible Mexican restaurant. That's going to happen. And Jill Donovan, our good friend, who is the founder of Rustic Cuff. She started that company in her home, and now she sells millions of dollars of apparel and products. That's rusticcuff.com. And someone says, I want more. This is not enough.
Give me more.
Okay. I'm not going to mention their names right now because I'm working on it behind the scenes here. But we've got one guy who's given me a verbal to be here. And this is a guy who's one of the wealthiest people in Oklahoma, and nobody really knows who he is because he's built systems that are very utilitarian, that offer a lot of value. He's made a lot of money in it's where you rent. It's short term. It's where you're renting storage spaces. He's a storage space guy. He owns what do you call that? The rental,
storage space.
Storage units. This guy owns storage units. He owns railroad cars. He owns a lot of assets that make money on a daily basis, but they're not like customer facing. Most people don't know who owns the mini storage facility, or most people don't know who owns the warehouse that's passively making money. Most people don't know who owns the railroad cars, but this guy, he's given me a verbal that he will be here, and we just continue to add more and more success stories. So if you're out there today and you want to change your life, you want to give yourself an incredible gift, you want a life-changing experience, you want to learn how to start and grow a company, go to thrivetimeshow.com. Go there right now, thrivetimeshow.com. Request a ticket for the 2-day interactive event. Again, the day here is March 6th and 7th. March 6th and 7th, we just got confirmation. Robert Kiyosaki, best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he'll be here. Eric Trump, the man who leads the Trump Organization. It's going to be a blasty blast. There's no upsells. Aaron, I could not be more excited about this event.
I think it is incredible. And there's somebody out there right now, you're watching and you're like, but I already signed up for this incredible other program called Smoke Your Way to Thin. I think that's going to change your life. I promise you, this will be 10 times better than that.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit smoking.
Don't do the Smoke Your Way to Thin conference. That is, I've tried it. Don't do it.
Yeah, chain smoking is not a viable. I mean, it is life-changing. It is life-changing. If you become a chain smoker, it is life-changing.
Not the best weight loss program, though.
Right, really. So if you're looking to have life-changing results in a way that won't cause you to have a stoma, get your tickets at thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's Aaron Antis. I'm Clay Clark, and reminding you and inviting you to come out to the 2-day interactive Thrive Time Show workshop right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I promise you, it will be a life-changing experience. We can't wait to see you right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma.